Okay, in this video, let me show you how to do the graph for position and time, okay? And it's a little bit tricky because of the grid lines that we want, okay? So what you want to do is select just your time and position, not the velocity, not everything. Okay, we're going to do two separate graphs, right? So just do the time and the position. Select them, okay? Notice that I selected the headers too. This is important because it'll then put those as the titles in my graph. If you don't do that, you'll have to go and do that by hand. But I like less work rather than more work. So I'm going to go insert. So go up here to insert. Then we're going to insert a chart. And it usually guesses the right chart. Ooh, look at that. That's kind of cool. Okay. Okay. Now, there's several things wrong with this. It doesn't have grid lines on it, and we need grid lines. Grid lines are our friends. Okay. It also doesn't have a right side to it. This gives me a rash, right? Like there's no axis there. Well, how far over is that? We just don't know. And there's ways to fix that, okay? Now, I think what you want is a line chart, right? Like that. You could do the smooth line. I think there's very little difference of that, right? I'm going to just choose the smooth line because the smooth line looks a little better to me, okay? So on that list, whatever you do, it should have the numbers on the bottom here. It should have an actual axis like that. Okay, it should have an actual axis on this side, okay? Now let's fix this problem with the axes here. So I'm going to go into Customize. Okay, now by the way, if you don't see this editor thing, click on this edit chart. There it is, right? Okay, so I'm going to go here to Customize, right? Chart style was just that thing there. Axis and titles, you would go in here, and if you needed to put a title, this title is just fine. Position versus time. Okay, notice that it's always Y versus X. Okay, that's how we name things in science class, right? Okay. And then what we want to do is we want to go in here and look at the horizontal axis. Okay. Notice that there's a minimum and maximum, and it's just sort of auto doing stuff. So that's how it didn't put a right side to this. So I'm going to go 0 is my minimum, and then notice how 5. Wouldn't it be nice to have a 6 there? Let's put a 6 there. So always specify the minimum and the max. Okay. And now we're having problems with like, uh-oh, now I want 2, 4, 6. We don't like that. We'll fix that later. Okay. So there's the horizontal axis, right? And that's all we can do there. And there's other things you can mess with, right? Let's go to the vertical axis. Just because I don't want it to change it later, I'm going to say that 0 and 1.25, just like it did, you know. But always tell it, you know, because otherwise it'll do quirky little things on you, okay? So there's that. We've done that, but now we need to fix our grid lines, okay? So go to grid lines, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky, okay? On my vertical axis, it's going by 0.25, and I think that's okay. But we want minor grid lines, right? And now look at this. It's dividing it into thirds. I mean, God help us. What is a third of 0.25, right? It just doesn't make any sense. Okay, so really what we want to do, I think a reasonable thing here would be to divide 0.25 into 5 equal things. Now you'd think you'd put a 5 there, but you wouldn't, because then you'd have 6 intervals. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put a 4 there. Now watch, it just makes sense now. So now it's 0.05, 0.1, 0.15, 0.2, 0.25. Okay, so if you want 5 divisions, you have to have 4 grid lines. Like you'd think the engineers would like be smarter than that, but they, you know, they don't know. I mean, it is what it is, right? All right, okay. So there it is, and by the way, now notice we're looking at the vertical axis. I think we're done with the vertical axis. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now let's look at the horizontal axis. This is a mess, right? It's like auto. Okay. So major ticks. Let's see. Minor spacing type. Major spacing type, step. Okay, step value. Okay, no, we don't want this. Okay, we want the step value. I want it to be 1. I feel like 1. There we go. Now we're back to normal stuff. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is good. So make these guys, whatever. Okay. And then we want minor grid lines here, right? Okay. And it's doing 2 of them, which doesn't make any sense, right? So what I would like is I'd like to divide the seconds into tenths of a second. Okay, so to divide it into tenths, again, we're going to put 9 in there, right? 9 lines in between gives us 10 division. Now count them before you go away, because it's easy to make something that's just totally indecipherable. Okay, so let's just see. 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 4.4, 4.5. We're in the middle, looks good. 4.6, 4.7, 4.8, 4.9, 5. Oh, this is good. This is just going to be so good. Okay, so I've divided the vertical axis into things that make sense. So these are 0.05 meters every 5 centimeters. And then in the horizontal axis, you definitely want to have seconds there. Okay, so make the step be 1, and then the click minor grid lines, and make there be 9 of those. Okay, and then I think we're good, right? Okay, what I want to do now is I want to copy the chart. So click on the little 3 dots there. Click copy the chart. Okay. And then I'm going to go find where the chart goes, position versus time. I'm going to delete that. And now it gets a little bit tricky, Okay, I'm going to paste this guy in there. And linking to the spreadsheet is good. Okay, now click on that thing, and there's all these ways. So when you click on it, you get a little toolbar there. Okay, so again, click on the chart. You'll get a little toolbar, and what we need to do is we need to wrap the text. And when you do that, you don't want to move it with the text. You want to click fix the position on the page. Okay, now things are going to be a little bit messy. Okay, like position versus time graph, we no longer need that, right? Okay, so I'm going to delete that and this. You'll have to mess around with this. Kind of want that up against the graph like that. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, so again, click on that, make sure that is selected, make sure you pull down fixed position on page. This is important because we're going to stick tangent lines on there. Okay, there's our beautiful graph. Okay.